a great performance in the minor.
No, that's certainly true. Neither did Cloud9 at the summit, so both teams having their share of difficulties. But Robson, I want to ask you, how seriously do you think these teams are going to be taking this tournament? Because obviously it's an online event, you know, it's all in good nature. But how do you think they're going to be coming in versus their mentality?
I think every single team will try and perform, try and get obviously good results. Like we touched on the subject, obviously the major get cancelled, so this is going to be their time they've been practicing a lot. And obviously players, when they practice, they got ideas, they want to showcase it. They want to have like good Dota being performed. The only caveat to that, OG. Obviously, they're playing with Gorg, right? So I think they're going to be the one wild card. But we're used to them being, you know, crazy anyway. So yeah, it's going to be every team will be serious, and then OG.
I mean, OG is serious in their silly way, right?
No, of course.
No matter how they're playing, it's still serious.
No, exactly. That's
they're
true.
just having lots of fun.
Exactly.
That's the best balance.
But that's what Dota is, right?
Yeah.
Oh. All right, well, there's going to be you guys.
Yeah.
But of course, it is the fun of the Dota, and then there is the more serious underlying issue. And of course, COVID-19 is the big issue, which we're all talking about and all taking very seriously right now. Is what the stream is about. And we do have some information for you guys regarding the virus and the statistics and all that kind of thing. And of course, the donations are extremely important. The two foundations we're going to be supporting is CEPI Foundation. That is the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovation, founded by Norway, India, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And they are trying to develop vaccines to fight the COVID virus. The number one thing we can do to overall take this thing down is develop a vaccine, but it's a long process, and it is a process which is going to take a lot of resources, and for those resources we need money, and we're trying to do our bit. Very important to get them what they need in order to tackle this thing. Meanwhile, Global Giving, they're offering more immediate and long-term assistance to those affected directly by the COVID-19 virus, those vulnerable, and over to the people that need them, get them the help they need, and get this thing under control and make sure people are okay during this trying time. And of course, you can do your own way to help the world right now. Social distancing, staying at home, quarantine, self-isolation, these are terms we've heard a lot, and we're going to be talking about them a lot throughout this broadcast. But it is really important. If you can, obviously, some people have work, some people have things they need to go out for, but the majority of people should be trying to stay home as much as possible, keep themselves distanced. And it's not just about you, is it? It's about people who are vulnerable. They need to be protected. And the best way you can do it is you don't know you're carrying the virus for up to 7 to 10 days until you're actually showing symptoms. You could be carrying it, spreading it to those vulnerable. You know, Lizard, you talked about that a little bit in your little video. What's your number one tip to people in this trying times, you know, to stay safe and keep things under control?
Goddammit. Just stay at home. Don't leave. If you really have to go somewhere, go buy your groceries, and that's it. Ukraine did a really good job when it comes to these rules that they have enforced. All the restaurants are closed. Mm-hmm. You pretty much can go only to the product markets, right? Social distancing is just advertised everywhere. And it's some of these things that we can do as individuals that really do matter. Because it's not about us. We're young, right? Everyone says if you're young, you're going to get over it easily. It's not a big deal. But the elderly are our parents. My mom works in a hospital. I worry for her. My country doesn't have nearly as many rules as it should have right now, and it's just dangerous.
Just respect it, really.
Yeah.
If you kind of shrug it off and just think it's going to pass, then that's when things go worse. So just like maintain good hygiene as well, washing your hands and the distancing, elbow bumps, and then we're going to do our part. So yeah, it's good.
Alrighty, well, we do have some information here about the various nations and how they are coping with the virus. I think it's really important to keep track on where we are standing with all this right now. And of course, we've already got some donations rolling in. So, if you guys want to get your name on this leaderboard, then get yourself donating. So far, Joey Paps has made a very generous donation of $120. Ratskiller as well, $50 there. Golden Nipple.
Golden Nipple, my man. $11. 8 matters.
I wish I had a golden nipple with a white t-shirt on. That'd be great.
That would be great.
Yeah.
You see them through our t-shirts as well.
Okay.
If he donates a bunch, we should pay. Never mind.
Donation goals coming soon.
But no, of course, you do want to get your name up there, then go ahead and donate. If you can, able to do so, of course, take into responsibility the fact that, people might be out of work for a while now. But if you can help out, then certainly do, because we are trying to fight this thing. We're trying to show the world what esports can do. So, of course, as I mentioned before, Twitter, vote with your bits, get that money. That will be translated directly into donations. This is a non-profit event. WePlay will not be taking a cut of it. It's all going to those causes, as previously mentioned. And I think that's really important as well. And you can head online to weplay.tv, and there's going to be a big donate button in your face where you can head over and throw in a donation over there as well. So
I think just sharing information is the best thing that you can do. Sometimes it's not about the money that you're able to donate. Perhaps I know many friends that have lost their jobs right now because of coronavirus, but just sharing info and keeping people informed is another great way of approaching and helping with the virus, right? I have a bunch of friends that I came back to Boston like 10 days ago, and they were like, it's not coming, Bostonians are strong, we're healthy, you know the story. And I would tell them, just go on the internet and research on it for 3 hours, for 1 hour at least. It's obvious. Just inform people.
Absolutely. Alrighty, we do have our first game just around the corner, and that one is going to be Boom Esports versus GeekFam in the best of 3 series. It is single elimination bracket, so everything on the line for these two teams. They're going to be battling it out to find out who's going to be making it through in the SEA region. Gentlemen, I think the story is quite straightforward with these two teams. We've got Boom Esports, previously of Boom ID, who have been looking decent, they've been kind of the middle runner of the SEA region, and we've got GeekFam, who have been looking really solidly recently. They've made it to the major. But first, do you want to talk us through Boom venture through the minor? Because of course you were there.
Like in the minor, they look like a team that's made out of pub stars. Even though they aren't necessarily only pub stars, they do have some experience behind them. They are they are a kind of a team that has this first SEA 10K mid laner, right? And if you have a 10K in your team, you're gonna play around him. You're gonna do everything to make his game as good as possible, and that's how they usually play. The problem is these kind of teams usually lack in the strategical department, like their idea of how the game should develop after, let's say, first Roshan or first objectives just kind of falls apart a little bit. So perhaps if they worked on in that way, after the minor, they can even surprise us and win versus what are they playing against? Boom, right? No, sorry, Boom versus GeekFam.
Yeah, GeekFam, the other team. And obviously, they managed to qualify to the major, which I believe, Robson, you were casting. You got any comments on their performance as they managed to just absolutely obliterate those qualifiers, only dropping 1 game to Fnatic?
Yeah, I think in terms of the SA region, you've got obviously Fnatic, GeekFam. They're the two kind of titans, and then they're just standout teams. They're like Lizard touched on the idea of like strategy, and most of these kind of up and coming teams, they lack that captain, that shot calling, or even just that voice to be able to bring them together. So that's where GeekFam, obviously their players stand out. They've got history, obviously again same, Fnatic. But it's like if you move away from that and go back to Boom ID, for example, they were in the group with those two teams. They weren't able to qualify because they obviously came third, and now they picked up a coach, Clairvoyance. He's got history. I don't know how that's going to operate well for them. That sounded flame. Oh, that wasn't flame, by the way. But let's see how that goes.
It's fine. You're a coach as well.
I don't know how maybe that synergy will work, but I hope that it might bring them that extra little bit of strategy that they need, and that might elevate them through.
Alrighty, well, we do have our draft up and available for you now, so let's get in to the first series of the tournament, Boom Esports versus GeekFam. It's really hard not to say Boom ID, but they have rebranded. So
easy to say it as well.
It is. It
just rolls off the tongue.
No, they have rebranded to Boom Esports. So let's see what we've got coming up. Now, of course, there has been a change to the drafting phase, but you played a game the other day, a Captain's Mode game, and it wasn't implemented yet. So we'll see. It's supposed to be 4 bans to start things off now. And do you have any ideas on how that's going to affect the draft?
Well, we spoke about this off cast, but the idea of you have to think about what you want to achieve in your draft earlier on. You want to be able to get the correct bans in early to enable the rest of your picks. Right now, or the old system, you were able to pick, let's say, you could easily open up with, let's say, a Chen +1, and then you could see what's happening, get the necessary ban, and then off we go. But now, because you've got put that ban into the earlier phase, it's going to be a lot harder to be able to get those cheese picks through.
Yeah, so basically what would happen before is you were able to pick your win condition on the 10th pick, right? Not necessarily win condition, but something that's going to, let's say, even your playmaking position. It was easier because you had those following two bans to protect it. Right now, it's, in my opinion at least, it's easier to see that happening if you're the enemy team, because you have these 4 bans that you're starting with, right? And if you're banning four heroes, you're kind of telegraphing where you're going towards. And because of that, it's going to perhaps be a little bit easier to answer to the 10th pick.
But that's why you have the idea of more like generic bans. You want to keep the bans open. So in your first phase, you're not going to be banning out hard counters to your later cores. It's going to be maybe even more focus of the support bans early on, just to simplify your drafting. You think about some teams, right? They want save. So Oracle, Shadow Demon, Chen. So
yeah, it's a double-edged sword, though.
Yeah,
that's what it is when it comes to drafting. It's a thing like you can catch yourself in this trap. You might be banning out these other heroes to prevent the enemy team from realizing what you want.
Yeah.
But because of you doing that, you open up multiple possibilities for them to pick afterwards. So we'll see.
Alrighty, well, GeekFam, they do get rid of the Rubik, the Riki, the Shadow Fiend, and the Oracle. Meanwhile, Boom ID, they're going to get rid of the Snapfire, the Puck, the Timbersaw, and the Nyx Assassin, and absolutely no surprise to see the AA being the first pick. This is a favorite of both of the teams. They've just been playing this hero an absolute ton, like everybody. I mean, AA just seems pretty good right now, but especially these two. They love it.
And it fits the whole thematic of our... studio
blue the
very
theme,
well.
yeah.
Look at
Blue
that.
draft,
We
very
need
nice.
some icy heroes. We need some blue heroes in here.
But we need at one point, you need to stand up and just start running around.
Robson,
Just ruin the immersion.
Robson, can you give Ancient Apparition away for me?
No, I refuse.
No?
Okay.
Okay.
No. We'll do it later, okay?
All right,
Once
all
there's
right.
more heroes, it's just me and him. We don't vibe that well. I don't like AA, you know?
Bit awkward. Okay, well, so AA obviously usually common with the Nyx Assassin, but that guy's been banned out. Another really popular pick right now. Anything else we're expecting to be hotly contested between these two?
I've seen that Ricky banned out already. We go with the Mars. It's just your casual picks, right? Mars, Chen. It's nothing out of the ordinary. AA isn't really great versus these heroes too. Chen is one of those better ones versus the AA, as you have no wave clear. And now you have to respond to this. You have to respond to the Chen and the Mars, and we'll see what they go for. What I really like about the AA, same like the Nyx you mentioned before that's banned, is it prevents you from picking certain heroes, right? You can't go. You have that built-in vessel. You can't go for something like... let's say a Huskar. So no cheese picks in that way, at least. Morphling is also more difficult to pick.
It covers it for sure. And the thing as well with the Mars, when you're on second pick, it allows you to flex later into the draft. We see it in the CIS region especially. You play it mid, you can play it off lane. And when you're second pick, you're going to have to see one more hero before you get to pick again. So you're just allowed to cover yourself. You get to second phase, you pick up your position 4, you see one more hero, and then you get to decide, where's my Mars going?
Yep.
So it kind of... counters the fact they're against first pick. I think that's a really important thing as well, is the fact that if you're on second pick with a new drafting style, you have to make sure that you don't put yourself into a corner too early in the draft. You need to kind of hide a couple things, maybe have one flex pick at the start, and then moving on.
I really just want to see Boom not flex it way too much, though.
Exactly,
because they did very well when they give Mikoto his heroes.
Sure.
I think they messed up once or twice when they would pick this flex pick, and then they would give it to him, and he just
there is a line,
he
though.
wouldn't have a game, like the Mars as well. I believe one of the games on the minor, he was Mars mid. It just didn't look good.
No.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of time to practice, so hopefully, maybe we've got some new style coming out.
Let's see. They ban out the PL, the Beastmaster as well.
Yep.
So we have to be thinking about these great carries right now. You have your Morphling, but probably you don't want it as Boom because of the AA that's been picked. There are some carries that have been reworked, however. CK also comes to my mind. It's another hero that perhaps will be picked up in this tournament. Lion.
Ooh, this is what I mean, though. This is how I think you need to cover yourself in second pick. It's just the casual flex with supports opening, and now you have this AA, and now they have to go, okay, we need another core. Void Spirit is right now there's no change in their drafting style. They've completely picked the same heroes that they were picking in the qualifiers and the minor, so there's nothing too crazy. I don't like when a new patch comes out, people go, oh my god, this hero is busted, it's insane. It's like, no, calm down. We've got to give it a moment, think about it, and then we'll slowly work it into the draft.
I mean, you can't really change way too much this early on. It's been, 2 days since the patch, right?
Yeah, there's no time.
You can't adapt. The only problem is this Void Spirit always... It's a great hero right now. But if you have good catch versus him, he can be in problems.
The
There's
key
a
word
line.
there is but. When you look at this lineup, Chen, his catch only comes from the high ground with maybe the centaur creeps if you're running high ground, the stomp, and then you sure got an ember. But this new Ags on Voice Spirit, have you played against it yet?
I have felt the agonyms.
It hurts.
Yeah,
you know,
it hurts your soul, your MMR points.
Yeah.
It's very strong.
Like people always said, oh, this guy is imbalanced. But then, like you said, it's like if you catch him, it's good. But now they go, you know what we need to do? We need to also add a whole new style to him. Like before, you'd rush Orchid, right? Or could be one of the potential
It's
builds.
just Aghanim's
And then you go
straight up,
Ags.
yeah.
And then you can lay it with an Orchid as well, so you have more silences. Like
Or you just buy something like a Yules to prevent them
Yeah,
from
exactly.
catching you. It's good, definitely.
it simplifies his game for sure.
It simplifies his game. Then again, I'm surprised they pick it into a Lion. I thought that Lion should
Yeah.
be quite all right when it comes to the catching department and the bursting department
Sure.
versus the Void Spirit. Ember Spirit also. It was a hit or miss. I have seen many games in which Ember Spirit just dominates the Void Spirit as it gives you that range, right? It gives you the mobility to catch him. But Sven, all right.
Yeah, just
Oh,
if you
wow.
compare these drafts though, it's like you've got this Radiant side, obviously this Void Spirit, but all these heroes are quite clunky in terms of like AA doesn't really move around the map that well. Of course, with 6 it's easy. Earthshaker can move between the lanes, get that fissure, but when they want to, like, they need a couple items. Sven needs to obviously get to maybe Crystallis, Ags. He needs to be online. You look at this Boom draft; they're like hyper mobile. They're going to have tempo. The Chen TPing around the map, Ember Spirit. Like, it's going to be so hard for
They don't
GeekFam
need
to
items,
contain.
right?
Exactly.
They don't
Yeah.
need items
Yeah.
to come online. You have this Chen, all he needs is a couple of levels.
Yeah.
Lion perhaps can be the greedier one left
Yep.
in the lane farming his dagger, right? But Ember, he doesn't need a lot. He needs his levels, same like Chen, and then they're online. The
Yeah.
only question is, how will they play around that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point to raise as well. Like, GeekFam almost challenging Boom here to say, basically, we're going to pick this Sven. Okay, Raven, he's one of the highest GPM players of all time ever. This guy farms well.
Yeah.
We're going to pick him, Sven. He's going to sit in the jungle. Come at us.
Yeah,
Come and fight us.
One of the heroes that you're thinking about for Boom probably is Slark as well. But you're playing into a Shaker AA, so that's difficult to pick.
Yeah, the AA into Slark is always a bit of an awkward one.
You did touch on it though, about the whole jungling. It's sure you have a hero that can unlock the jungle, but when you have a Chen who's able to move so freely at these early stages, if you can farm up those early camps, prevent the stacks coming in, it's a very aggressive hero. And then again, like we've already mentioned with the Ember Spirit as well, the main key point I think actually is the change to the runes. We now get them at 4 minutes. So before you'd have this Ember potentially being hyperactive, you get that early DD, it bridges the gap that he might be a little bit weak in lane against certain heroes. But now it's going to be a rough time. That 4-minute rune could be that big opening window.
What do you think about Searing Chains again? They've been changed. They've been buffed up a little bit. I still don't think you go for them early on, right? But
No, not really.
it is an option. They go with the Death Prophet, all right?
This hero's been doing very, very well in pub games, that's for sure.
So
A
this
bit
could
of
be
a
this
win
could be your
rate.
offlane as well, right?
Maybe.
It could be your offlane.
Yeah, they're trying to squeeze a lot of
Because
heroes in here.
they
aren't
have Void Spirit, they have Shaker
Yeah.
as well.
But the Earthshaker naturally as a 4 enables most off-laners to play the lane. So I would expect the Void Spirit to be the off-lane because you have
Yeah.
that fissure block, you keep the wave back.
Is it where they usually run the Void Spirit? Is it the offlane for them?
It's flexibility
It's
right now. I've
flexible,
seen the thing is a DP for me is a mid lane. You want to
Yeah.
have that timing. You can pressure the towers, and it kind of makes this hyper mobile lineup that wants to play aggressive. It's hard to play aggressive when you have a DP just kind of running through your towers, right?
Because on the minor, we have seen a couple of Death Prophets played on
sure.
the offlane, right? And same like you said with the Shaker, you
Yeah.
can always safer.
That is true.
Safer, and it allows heroes such as this one to actually play. So
But I guess that's the fact they don't have last pick. It gives them that option, right? So like you said, you got the DP off lane. You can also have the Void Spirit off lane. They can now decide where it's going to go. I personally would like to see the DP mid because it makes their whole game plan a lot easier. It's easier to play around the Death Prophet because the ultimate is such an indicator of we can fight you.
Yeah.
The Void Spirit, it's a little bit more flashy. You need to get items. You need to have the right positioning.
No,
and it's hard to get that.
I love having that Prophet in my
Yeah,
team. It's one of those things that makes a bad team a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
gives you a thing to play around. And they go with the AM, all right?
Okay.
It's if you look at the side with Sven and Shaker, you have some stuns, but versus the AM, you don't truly have a lot. They should have a decent game. The only question is, will they be able to create enough space for him to come online? Because Sven comes online much faster.
And how do they defend towers that well? Mars can, obviously, if he's there, but it's going to be so hard when this lineup of the Death Prophet kind of groups up and moves towards towers. It's going to be quite scary. And Sven as well, when he has items, he loves to play against these Embers, these AMs, because their itemization to be tanky is their third window of just going. It's going to be
on the aggressive side. Chen, Ember, they have the tempo of the game. They will lose map control, and AM will just find himself farming in these places in which he will get caught, and then he won't find his farm. So as long as you keep the tempo on Boom Esports side, as long as a lot of space early on.
But the AM. Like the draft looks so nice. It looks fluid. It looks high tempo. It looks great. And then you see this AM. It feels like a pub, you know? The guy, you're going, all right, I'm going to take last pick. And he's hovering on an AM. And no matter what he sees, he's like, I'm going to play AM. And you're like, all right, maybe we should... I'm playing AM. So, okay. MMR hostage. All right, I'm sorry. Play your AM, but...
And are they strong enough as 4 to pressure the Sven and slow him down and maybe, you know, help AM reach his timing? Or do you reckon they're just going to get run over?
It completely depends on the laning stage and how it goes for them. If Chen gets that early mech and starts rotating with an Ember, if Ember and Chen... there's a reason why I'm mentioning these two, is because if they have a good early game, if they reach their levels early on, they will be able to set the pace of the game.
All right, so are you agreeing with everything Liz is saying about your predictions for this game then? Pretty much in the bag for GeekFam as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the draft that looks nicer and is easier to execute. I feel when you go for these higher skill, higher kind of strategic level drafts, and especially when you're the team that potentially has that kind of lack of strategy in your kind of arsenal of what you bring to a game, I think, I'm going to have to go with GeekFam.
GeekFam as well. It looks much easier for them.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your analysis and input on that draft. But now we are going to be getting into the game. This is going to be GeekFam versus Boom Esports, a best-of-3 series, casted by Killer Pigeon and Harry Freak.
The name of the game at the moment, isn't it, Harry Freak? Usually we see teams that can execute a little bit easier. They tend to have an easier time.
Well, yeah, I think that the draft that's easier to execute should always win the game, but I'm really curious about this AM. Given the change to the Battle Fury, I really think that it might work, so we're gonna see.
That's true. It definitely seems like a little bit more of an aggressive item now, but it's always that argument of ease of execution, right? Like, the more pieces of the puzzle that need to be in the right place, the more elegant the solution. It's the reason we don't see all these big ultimates at once anymore, is if you can have quick, rapid pacing that just allows you to run at the enemies, you feel better. And when you look at the lineup on the side of GeekFam, there's only one real variable you're scared about, which is the DP ult, right? If you commit that, then you might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, but the big problem here I see for Boom is that there is no one who can actually play the lane against the DP very well. He's gonna crush the Ember mid, and he's gonna be extremely strong. So then how do you kill him? If he gets an early Yules, it's gonna be extremely hard to bring him down. And then I don't really see a way for them to play, but if they shut him down a bit, then I actually see this AM actually getting in on farm and carrying out the game.
It's true. It's the way you like to see an AM drafted, where you've got this kind of 4-player around the one, right? The Ember can get active quickly with levels alone. Mars, we've seen how dominant that ultimate can be early on, especially if you don't have a good counter to it, right? You think of things like the Disruptor. Well, a little bit of disruption in the life of Let's Go as First Blood does get drawn, and Raven will be picking it up. Not the start you want to see for the AM lane.
Yeah, but the AM actually rotated while we were talking about the mid lane. He was running bot. They actually anticipated that it's going to be an aggro lane. We have Shaker stun, Sven stun into an AA freeze, so it's a really hard lane to play into. So very heads up play there from Boom ID. They really need this AM to have a good lane.
Well, heads up there, by the way, guys. Look at that. If we actually reach that donation goal, you get to see an EU versus CIS final. That's right. Okay, we finally will decide which region is dominant, and in future, where all of the joint events should be hosted.
So actually, the AM should do really well in lane. Okay, let's look at the mid lane.